You want me to mic out?
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE. Welcome back to the channel for the second time today, guys. So, I'm just going to give you quickly the backstory. JM Truth and Shelly Lewis were doing a film project together called The Plain Truth Behind What Curve, and there has been some kind of souring of relationships and issues with that project. There's been a lot of speculation as to what has been going on. Shelly Lewis has put out a few videos and there's been a lot of talk. So I have invited JM onto my channel tonight to give his side of the story about what's going on with the Plain Truth documentary and his relationship with Shelly. There will be a section at the end where I will take some questions from the audience for JM. So feel free to either put them in my Discord or tag me or super chat if you feel like you want to, and I will ask any questions, but they will only be about this whole situation with Shelly Lewis. So let me just get this over. JM, welcome to the channel.
Right. Hey, thanks for having me, Rick.
So basically, let's just start at the beginning. The project that you and Shelly were on, what happened to sour the relationship?
Well, Shelly originally had come to me and asked me to direct with her and to kind of teach her how to direct. And so we were doing that. Things were going good. And about 2 months ago, we started having artistic differences. This basically, she has no directing experience. She had none before this project. And so I would try to guide her into things and share with her things. And sometimes she'd be perceptive to it. Sometimes she wouldn't. On this, basically a lot of this came to a head in this last trip we had. And I had purchased almost $4,000 worth of equipment, including a $1,200 drone that I took down to California with me. Down in California, things actually were pretty good in California. But we had some differences, again, in artistic ideas, which really weren't too big of an idea. One of the situations that happened was the drone shoots in 4K, our camera shoot in 4K. The hard drives that we had were starting to get pretty full. And so I had made the comment to her. I said, hey, if things get so tight that we need more hard drives, instead of buying hard drives, why don't we take your 2 hard drives that you have, Wendell and I have too, so we were covered as far as the footage is concerned. Why don't we take your hard drives, we'll wipe them out, use them to upload footage, and then once that's all redistributed, then I'll give you all the footage back for the film. Somehow that got twisted into I was trying to take the footage away from her, which was not at all the case. I simply was trying to make space for the footage that we had, or the footage that we would gain. And we had a lot of footage over the last week and a half, or the California and Utah trip. So the plan was for all of us to load up in one van. So all my equipment went into the van. Wendell had some equipment, I had some equipment, we had some equipment. We had all of our sleeping gear and all of our clothes and stuff, and it all went in one van. And 4 of us drove out to, 4 of us drove out to Wendover, Nevada. And we got a KOA there that was right across the street from this casino. And we started shooting. And actually shooting went pretty well, except the last day, the day of the actual incident, day prior to that, we had been shooting, what were we shooting? We did the 10-mile observation, 11-mile observation, and then went back to the casino, kind of had a disagreement in the casino, and David and I went back to the cabin. So things were starting to get a little rocky. I had started noticing some what I would call character flaws in Shelly. We had a verbal arrangement that at the end of production, if all the assets were still intact and we still wanted to work together, that I would consider making JM Truth Productions which is a sole proprietorship. I would make it a partnership and she would get 20 to 25%. But that was a hypothetical. If we got to the end of the project and we still wanted to work together, that's what that would be. There was nothing in writing, nothing legal or binding about it. It was simply something that I had mentioned to her that I was considering. My wife witnessed the conversation, so she did witness that. We talked about it. My wife and I had a conversation about it. We were all in agreement that was the case, or that might be the case. So there was nothing legal or binding in any of that. That was simply, like I said, a hypothetical. However, on this trip, like I said, Shelly and I started butting heads. We had, what really brought everything to a head, I guess, was we had an opening shot that we were shooting right before the 35.6-mile observation. So that day, we were out on the salt flats and we were doing a drone shot, which was going to break the fourth wall. I was going to do this cool thing that I've never seen done in a documentary before, and we got done with filming and shooting and all of our A-roll and B-roll camera, and I showed it to Shelly, and Shelly says, well, I don't like it. We got to reshoot. And I said, well, why don't we wait and see what it looks like after it's edited? It's not all put together. And she's like, well, I've got 2%. I just don't like it, so we got to reshoot it. And that's oftentimes how it was. I had tried to take a backseat to her because she likes to be in the limelight. I'd less like to be in the limelight, although being the face of my company, I have to. But for this, I was trying to allow her that opportunity as her first directing experience to be a director. They say the first rule in Fight Club is you never ever talk about Fight Club. Well, the first rule in Film Club is you never ever ever co-direct. Even Spielberg and George Lucas found they couldn't co-direct together and had to go their separate ways. I should have known better, but I feel she didn't have any experience, that I wouldn't have the same ego issues, and so we seemed to get along fine, and so I went against my better judgment, and we co-directed. If there's a major mistake I made on this project, that's probably the one that I would beat myself into oblivion with, because any filmmaker knows you never ever ever co-direct. So anyway, that having been said, that really ticked me off because there was some insults that went along with that whole situation, and they all packed up the gear and we loaded it in the van and went back to the casino to eat before going out and I guess we went back to the cabins and then went to do the 35-mile observation. In the observation, if you guys actually watch that, in there you'll hear me, I actually was trying to subdue the situation and say, hey, Shelly, if you don't like the footage, we can go reshoot it, and we'll just go reshoot it. And, that was my way of saying, hey, I'm sorry we got into the argument, disagreement. Let's just make it better and do it again. That's fine. I just don't like to continually reshoot things because it's a waste of time, money, and effort, as you well know. So anyway, that all went well, but her response was a little weird, just to me. And we went back to the casino, and all of a sudden the timbre changed, and Wendell, who has only been on the project for like 3-4 weeks, he he's not even been on the project that long, for some reason felt that he had the right to start to accuse me of being aggressive towards Shelly, which was not the case. We have artistic differences and artistic disagreements, and we'd always been able to make up and work through them or whatever. So it really wasn't that big a deal. During that time, the conversation got heated, and they started accusing me of bullying David, which was ridiculous. Because what happened basically was and I were having an executive producer discussion, and David decided to step in and protect Shelly because there's a thing there that I'm not going to go into. So I turned to him and said, "Hey, sit down, shut up, and be quiet," which probably wasn't the best use of words, but I had the three of them potentially attacking me and the thing being real heated. So I told him to pipe down and pipe out. And he got up, ran out. Everybody got up and ran out, followed him. And I paid for the bill for dinner and texted them and said, "Hey, where's the van? I want to go to the van." And for 3 hours, I got no response. Zero response.
Was this when you first posted about the situation on Facebook?
No, I posted until after the theft took place.
Right.
I did not, yeah. So about an hour and a half into the situation, I'm texting them going, "Hey, guys," and I could feel my blood, I'm diabetic, so I've got type 2 diabetes. So I could feel my blood sugars kind of going wacko. And so I was texting them, "Hey, look, I need to get my meds out of the van. Where's the van?" No response. For 3 hours, I got no response. Now, I was a combat medic for 12 years. If somebody texted me and said, "Hey, I'm having a medical issue," I wouldn't have ignored them. I don't care what the situation is. From my perspective, that's not cool under any circumstances, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, so they finally texted me and said, "Hey, we're coming back." At the end of that, I went looking through my bag. I did find a bottle of my meds. I had 2 bottles of my meds. One was in the van, one was in my backpack, I guess. I didn't realize I had it in my backpack. So I did take some medicine. I did take my meds, got my meds, my blood sugar cool as they came in. We went back to the casino and sat down, and all of a sudden they start in on, "Well, as you heard probably in the video, the project can go on, but it can't go on with you."
Okay.
And I said, "Look, guys, this is not going to happen this way." I said, "All the contracts are signed under Jam Tooth Productions. Wendell, you've only been here 3 weeks, so you have no right even discussing a separation of any kind. You're not an executive producer. You're not anything in this other than an editor and an associate producer. And you have no right to even be in this type of a conversation with Shelly and I." He then started quoting scripture and trying to use the Bible to manipulate his points. And in the video, they were accusing me of bullying David. And I didn't agree that I had bullied David. I was under extreme duress because they were threatening to blow apart the project. And I was trying to salvage the team. And so I apologized for that because I was trying to make nice and trying to bring an end to the hostilities so that what happened wouldn't happen. So that's what happened there. What's missing from that video is Shelly, what actually happened is they tried to extort the project from me. Okay. You heard them say them wanting for me to hand over the footage. I said, "No, I'm not handing over the footage." What's missing from that video is Shelly goes, "Well, if you're not going to give me the footage, then I'm going to take all of the equipment that's in my possession."
So
now,
who actually owns the project?
The project, Jam Tooth Productions does. All the NDAs, all the releases are under Jam Tooth Productions, yeah.
And Jam Tooth Productions is owned by you solely?
Solely, yes.
Yeah. have you seen the clip from one of Shelly's videos of you saying that she owns 25% of JM Truth Productions?
It's edited out of context. What I said was, yeah, you would have owned 25% of the project.
Okay. So all the footage that's been shot, who owns that?
I do.
When you say you mean JM Truth Productions?
JM Truth Productions owns it. Yeah.
Okay.
All the footage is contracted under JM Truth Productions.
And where is all the footage?
Well.
Okay, so do you have all of it, or is any of it in the possession?
I have all of it now. Shelly and Wendell have everything except for California and Nevada, which is why they tried to extort all of the equipment for the project, because they knew that they had jumped the gun and they didn't have the footage from this project that we just shot.
Okay.
So I had all of that, and normally my procedure is we go to do the film shoot, and about 5 hours prior to when disbanding, I sit down with the computer and I offload that footage onto the other 2 hard drives. Unfortunately, this happened long before 5 hours prior to that download. And so after them doing this, I think that they thought because they had the equipment that I would just hand over the project to them. The problem is the project and everybody that was in the project signed contracts, NDAs, and releases with JM Truth Productions. And what's funny is Shelly wanted to do this project at the beginning without contracts. And I said, no, Shelly, for me to take this project on, it needs to be done legitimately, because I want to go to IMDb, I want to go to film festivals and do that stuff. So everything's got to be under contract. And so I showed her, I've got 30, 40 contracts. That's our NDA right there. The non-disclosure.
And everyone signed a copy of this NDA?
Everyone except, interestingly enough, Shelly Lewis, which we will get to that later.
Okay. And there was also a release agreement?
Everyone signed the release agreement except for Shelly Lewis.
And what is the release agreement for?
The release agreement says basically that all performers, actors, interviewees, that JM Truth Productions owns all the footage to their voice, image, and they're releasing their image and voice and everything to JM Truth Productions for the purposes of this film, to be used however we see fit. It's a general performer release form. So it's standard.
This is
a copy of Windows.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Why isn't this signed by company representatives as well?
It is in my drawer. That's the one we uploaded prior to the signing, but it is signed.
Okay.
That was yeah.
Right. Okay. So let me go back. So just to clarify, you own all of JM Truth Productions, which means that you own all of the footage.
Correct.
Okay.
I also own the name. Correct.
Right. What about the equipment? Who owns the equipment and who has the equipment?
Okay. The equipment. Now the equipment. My LLC does not own any of the equipment I just bought, and even the GH2s, the GH4, all of that stuff is not owned by JM Truth Productions. It's covered under the umbrella, but it's owned by the cinematographer. So it's owned by me. And the reason that the company doesn't own it is because as a cinematographer, I'm hired sometimes to go do film shoots. I don't want to sometimes drag productions with me. I just want to go as Joshua Michael as a cinematographer. So all of my equipment is owned by me, insured by the company. So all of the equipment, and if you watch the video I put out a while ago, I actually go through my bank statements and show all the equipment was purchased on my personal credit card. It's my personal credit card. It's not the company's card. It's not on the company's name or logo. I have 2 separate accounts. I've got my personal account. I got the company account under JM Truth Productions. Personal account.
Sorry, is there any of the equipment that was owned by JM Truth Productions rather than you? It was all personally owned by you.
All of the equipment they took was all owned by me.
So Shelly didn't own any of the equipment at all in the project?
Negative. Negative, Ghost Rider.
Did she pay for any?
Nope.
Nope. And like I said, you've got receipts that would.
You know, the receipts showing. Yep.
Okay.
No, and she also knew this. Like I told her 3 or 4 weeks, well, 4 or 5 weeks prior to this last film shoot, I said, listen, I'm going to try and take a $1,000 loan because I want to upgrade my production value. I want to upgrade my equipment anyway. So I was looking to do this anyway. I said, I'm not going to do it in the company. I'm going to do it in my own personal account. That way all the equipment is owned by me. I explained to her prior to even doing this. I wound up applying for a loan at my bank. My bank said, hey, instead of a loan, would you rather have a credit card? Well, hell yeah, I'd rather have a credit card. I can go places with a credit card, and I can swipe it. You know what I mean? It's much more accessible and usable.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll take a $6,000 credit card in my name, and I went and put on the drone. I bought 2 sliders. I bought a Mavic Air 4K drone. I bought goggles. They got the goggles. I got the drone. I don't know why, but on the very last shoot, what's funny is in that video that they posted, Wendell said that David noticed that I put all the cameras in my bag. I didn't do that. David did that actually, because it was so cold. He wrapped up all my cameras in a towel and stuffed them in my bag. The cameras didn't have any cases. There were no cases for the cameras. I took them on my backpack when I flew to California. They were never in a case. They were in my bag on me at all times, along with my drone and my controller. So,
just to clarify, Shelly doesn't own or never owned or paid for any of the equipment.
None of the equipment.
And she currently has some of the equipment in her possession.
Currently has one of my sliders, my Hollywood, my Ronin SC gimbal, my DJI phone gimbal. I bought a really cool GVM 3 LED panel light kit, which is about this big in a box, but they're the lights we used in the observation, and I used them on set as well. They're awesome actually. But she's got that. She's got 2 tripods and a bunch of other I bought a black military zipper duffel bag. It's got a bunch of assorted accessories in it. So my GVM batteries for one of my batteries, and she got the drone bag. Even though I got the drone, she got the drone bag, my batteries and my chargers and stuff. My batteries for my lights and my sliders, for my cameras, chargers, mics, my lav mics, that kind of stuff.
So what value of equipment does Shelly have, would you say?
It's about $3,000 worth of equipment.
Okay. And how much is all of the equipment that you've been using for the project worth? I couldn't even say. I'd have to go through and itemize it. Now I know that, just so that this is clear too, coming into this project, I already had $45,000 worth of equipment prior to starting this project. Area 51 Productions, my company I owned before this, had $45,000 worth of camera and software and equipment. I've got an 18-foot Kessler crane, all kinds of other stuff that I didn't even use on this project. So that was all. Shelly said at one point that the equipment that you had wasn't suitable for filming the project. Was that true?
No, Shelly doesn't know what she's talking about. Shelly's not a director. She's not a cinematographer. She has no clue what she's talking about.
Okay. So
the reason she said here's the reason she said that, Craig.
Okay.
When she called me, I had 2 GH2s, and I've got the Panasonic, this other Broadcasonic. I had some GoPros and some other cameras. She said specifically she wanted to shoot in 4K. And I said, well, I don't have any 4K cameras. Well, I'll buy you some 4K cameras, and do you need lenses? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I have 2 cinema lenses. Get 2 more so that we have two of each kind. And it's like, okay, well, that'll be the payment for Jam Tooth Productions coming onto the project. I said, sure, fine. I agree with that. That's acceptable. It wasn't like she bought thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. She bought two GH4s, which were like $800 to $900, two cinema lenses, and a tripod.
So she
That's
bought some personal equipment that she was using on the project.
No, she bought me some equipment that I was using on.
Right. Okay.
She bought that as my payment to start the project.
Okay. Now all of
that's what she bought at the beginning of this.
All of the agreements and the the record of giving that as an initial payment, was any of this notarized, or did you go through a lawyer or anything to get all this done?
No. Like I said, my wife witnessed everything.
Okay.
Because she has a stake in the company as well, and so I always had my wife have my wife as a witness. So that whole conversation that Shelly and I had about when she purchased that equipment, my wife was there for all of it.
Okay.
So, I didn't think. I honestly was never planning on going and trying to make money from this film. That was never an issue. So I never thought this would be an issue. Okay. Lesson learned, I guess.
For the production and for JM Truth Productions in general, do you keep books that include a general ledger, income, and balance statements?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now
that her statement. Are you heading towards the whole misappropriation of funds? Is that where you're headed? Okay. Let's go ahead and address that.
Right. Okay. So the crowdfunding listed you, JM, as the beneficiary. Was it agreed
Correct.
that any investment go towards the production company to purchase assets or for production cost?
Yes, that was. In fact, it should have been on. Yeah, it was on the website that might be the case. The problem is, I did not ethically ever think it okay to buy large equipment from GoFundMe money. Why? Because a lot of the people that were investing into this project were, from what we were trying to get people to invest for, was for travel expenses, gas, food, lodging, that kind of things. I didn't want that money to be intermingled with my equipment money. I purposefully did it that way.
So there was none of the crowdfunding money was used to buy any equipment.
None of it went to you. No.
Okay.
Shelly's full of crap.
So was there any misappropriation of funds on either side?
I can't speak for her. All I can tell you is I cannot calculate $20,000 on her end, and I haven't seen any receipts from her. So when she says she spent $20,000, industry standard is the production company is the one all the accounting. So for her as an executive producer and director, she's got to turn all that stuff into me. This is where her ignorance and being a newbie doesn't understand how this all works, I guess. And even though I told her, Craig, I spent 5 hours with her on the phone explaining all of this to her. I said, keep all your receipts, you're itemizing everything. You're going to have to turn it all into me. I've got to do an itemized list of all the expenses so that we can correctly accredit you for the money that you spent on the production, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not an idiot. I've done this before.
Okay.
How all this works.
So how much was raised by the crowdfunding?
I think GoFundMe had $3,000, maybe.
Was that it?
That's it.
And is that $3,000 accounted for?
Yes. It all went to gas, food, and lodging.
Right. Okay.
All of it.
And
yeah. Now here's the thing. The way that worked is sorry, Craig.
Okay.
The way that works is all of her allegations, she has no proof for. It's all false allegation. No money ever is spent from the GoFundMe account. That account gets shipped to the JM Truth Productions bank account, and then from there, those monies are set aside, and I have them separated specifically so that the GoFundMe money for purposes of tax purposes and stuff, so that I can say, this is the GoFundMe money, this is itemized for, this was what I did this and this and this and this for. So I have it all separated in my bank account, but she didn't have any access to the bank account.
Okay.
So any accusations are all baseless.
So that $3,000 of crowdfunding, is there receipts to cover everything that was spent?
Yes, of course.
Right. Okay, that's cool. Right, that was all I needed to ask about the money. Okay, were you ever physically aggressive towards Shelly, David, or Wendell?
No,
No.
never.
Okay. That's good.
No, in fact, no, I would never, ever act that way, especially in a casino with hundreds of cameras.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the status of any kind of legal case? Was it all reported to the police?
It was reported. Sergeant Conan did come back with an initial statement that it was a civil case. I then contacted the lieutenant. I'm not exactly going to share what that conversation happened. However, it is being pursued.
Okay, so
is my understanding.
Is it a current open case?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, that was actually all the questions that I wanted to ask, and I think that the community's been asking in general. So, once I'll open up to people in the chat. If I did ask team if he would send me any, and he has, I think. Okay. Right. So. From Cypher Zero, why didn't you have a kit with you with meds and candy, JM? I always carry 2 just in case. If you were out filming somewhere you didn't know, you should have one on you at all times.
Well, because my issue is not the drop of my blood sugar, but the spike in my blood sugar. So I need to bring my blood sugar down, not make it go up. So my metformin is to drop my blood sugar. Okay. I don't have a problem with my blood sugar dropping. I have a problem with spiking.
I think this has already been covered. Fanswang asked, did you buy the equipment with your own money, so nothing is bought with GoFundMe or Patreon, etc.?
Yes. Yeah. It's all my money.
So, okay, just to clarify.
And if I can, Craig, just say this too. And we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I looked at this production not as a YouTube video. I was going for a Hollywood style documentary production. So there's a whole nother level of professionalism, and as a production company, I've got a lot of different things that I have to take care of. It's not like doing YouTube video. I have to be legally responsible for the money. I have to be legally responsible for the performers. I have to be legally responsible for the footage. So these are all things, unfortunately, Shelly Lewis doesn't understand, and we never got down that road to be able to teach her that or even talk about that because of this situation. But just so people know, this, in my perspective, is a completely different ball game than a YouTube video. So we're not even talking about the same thing legally here.
Okay. So Negative Exponents asks, what is the total value of JM Truth Productions according to the balance sheet?
I don't think that's anyone's business.
Nope, that's okay. If you don't want to answer that, that's fine.
It's a lot more than I've put out.
Okay. So apparently Negative Exponents has you on record stating that Shelly was a partner in JM Truth Productions along with your wife. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure what he has me on record as saying. Here's the agreement as it is. When this agreement took place, my wife and I agreed that we would play out the rules of percentages to see how this went. There was nothing legal about this, and Shelly knew this, and we told her this. But I said, for purposes of able to see if the dynamics of the percentages will work, Jackie has 51%, I have 30, whatever, and she have 20, however that worked out. I said, and we'll just play with that way. But there was never anything signed. There was nothing legal, nothing like that. And she understood the reason for that was, again, we wanted to see if we could work together. That was actually my wife's idea. Quite brilliant, I thought, actually, because it gave me an opportunity to evaluate her and see how professional she was. Obviously not very professional. So I don't, that's all I can tell you. That's as much as I can tell you.
So someone's asked what happened to the Facebook funding money.
That's accounted for too, and that was only like $1,500, I think.
Okay.
$1,500 to $1,700. That's all accounted for too.
So
All of the GoFundMe, all of the crowdfunding money is accounted for.
Okay.
It's all accounted for. I'm gonna have to pay taxes on it. I've got to account for all that stuff. So just so you know, there's no misappropriation going on, and no one's trying to steal anything here. So
I'm just seeing if there's any more questions. I'm pretty sure that everything's been covered.
Let me make this point too.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Shelly said that GoFundMe was what's the word she used? Was investigating me. Guys, that's not true. The GoFundMe site got shut down. I'm not even quite sure why. I've started communicating with GoFundMe. I don't know if Shelly did it. I don't know if one of the Globe Earthers did it. I don't know. I'm reopening a new GoFundMe site. And in fact, I may not even open a GoFundMe site. I've got Patreon, so I don't know if I'm going to do that. But nobody is investigating me for misappropriation of funds, because those funds go directly into my bank account, directly into my company account. So it's irrelevant to GoFundMe. All that money was given for the production. All the money is gone to the production. I show that. So that's what's important.
Is JM Truth Productions a sole proprietorship or an LLC?
It's a LLC.
Okay. Someone asks, who has all of the receipts?
I do. Who else would have them?
Okay. Apparently there is the accusation that some of the money was wired to your mother to pay back rent.
Yeah. No. Here's this. I don't know how many people know. My wife and I just bought a home. When we were going through the process, we had first applied with the VA loan. One of the things that we were talking about, and see, the other thing is, Shelly knew all this. Shelly approved this. There's nothing that, here's what's so funny about this whole situation. There's nothing that I did not communicate with Shelly about. As far as spending money, and really what happened was we were looking at, we initially needed $2,700 as a down payment for the house. One of the conversations that came up was, hey, since we have a studio and I've got a film studio and my office recording studio, so I've got a studio not attached to the house where I live now, in the house. So that's why this conversation even came up. But I called Shelly. I said, hey, we need $2,700 for the house. I don't have it at the moment. Is it okay to take some of the money and use it for a down payment? Because it's JM Truth Productions company, and we have a studio. She's like, oh yeah, no problem. Well, I sort of had a problem with it, but that never happened. It was a conversation that took place about a potential. Do you think it's okay to do this way? Things also happened where that $2,700 dropped. I no longer needed $2,700, so that money never got used for that. So let's be real clear. No money went to my mom. Because what we're going to do is take the money, I guess, and have my mom write a check. Anyways, bank legalities is what it was. But that never happened. All that, it wound up going through another loan company. I didn't need that loan. I got grants instead. So that money actually went to Ohio, I think, and was used on the trip to the Ohio conference. And our first trip to Utah. So that money got spent. That's where that money got spent. So.
Okay. And that was all. It was all agreed for. Was there paperwork to back all this up? And
no, it was a conversation. That's all.
Okay.
It never happened. It was just a conversation.
How much of the whole production and everything between you and Shelly, how much of that was in writing?
The NDAs are all in writing. The releases are all in writing. Everything else is actually in video script because a lot of that stuff I have archived. We did a lot of video meetings. Every meeting, in fact, all the first meetings we did are all on video. So I have a video log and a video archive of all that. So as far as in writing, just very little other than the NDAs and the release agreements, because there was nothing that needed to be in writing as of right then.
So what is the actual current state of the project going forward?
Okay, well, technically, I own the plain truth behind what curve. Shelly and if Unirock is listening, he went and did a video on this and then found out that, Shelly lied because she posted in about the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, where she copywrote the name The Plain Truth Behind What Curve with her and Wendell. Problem with that is that the date on that document is the 5th of November, meaning that the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 3 days after they stole my equipment, Wendell went onto my Google Drive and tried to wipe out all of my metadata, and then she went and copywrote the date. The problem is my date on my script goes back at least 4 months. So at this point, I'm actually contacting the WGA to make the case that she doesn't have the copyright to this, and that she just doesn't have. She doesn't own it. She like I said, she tried to extort the project from me. She tried to hijack the project, tried to blackmail me to get my equipment, and then committed internet theft and internet fraud. I mean, it really isn't rocket science. When you go on and you take a copyright of something you don't have a copyright for, again, that's especially when I can prove on my computer and my date on my script and my outline that I owned it back in March.
So you owned the actual name of the project before Shelly owned it?
Yes.
And there's paperwork to back that up or digital to back that up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I show it in one of the videos, yeah.
So
that's that. Then I don't know if anyone knows. I went and I've changed the name because the name behind the plain truth behind what curve. They wanted to go after the film documentary Behind the Curve, which I was not 100% behind, but I thought argumentative wise, it makes a good opening argument. But I'm a director. I don't need that name. I can go do my own documentary. I still own all the footage, and I'll take it in another direction, and I'll go after the facts. There's no reason to go after Behind the Curve and do a Behind the Curve 2.0.
How did Wendell get access to the Google Drive? Was it a shared Google Drive, or had you given him access to it prior?
I gave him access to certain folders. So he had access, obviously, to the script folder because we were all three working on it together. So he had access to it. Shelly had access to it. And so on the 2nd and 3rd, I was still in transit getting back home. So by the time I got home on the 4th, I was basically sleeping that day. And that's the day. And then when I got up, I was like, oh, shit, I need to lock my Google account. And so I had to go lock the Google account. But by that time, and I hadn't noticed that he had stolen anything until the next day when I opened up my script folder and figured out that my script folder was empty. And all of a sudden I looked on the right and I noticed it says Wendell deleted 4 items and removed 9. So I took a screenshot of that to show that, he did go in there and do that on the 5th. So the timeline as it plays out is they stole my equipment on the 2nd. They also committed grand theft. Not Grand Theft Auto, grand theft.
Shout out to Creaky Blinder for that thumbnail, by the way.
Right, him and Unirock.
Yeah.
So they did that. Then they crossed state lines, which also makes it another felony. If I go into the whole other side of this, I spent 12 hours trying to negotiate with them, with Robert Scott and Rob Taylor, trying to get them. I was not trying to press felony charges on them. I was just trying to get my equipment back. I thought Shelly was smarter than that. And so, go ahead.
Someone's asked, how do you delete metadata?
How do you delete metadata? If you have access to someone's drive, you go in and delete the files.
Okay.
I mean, it's not rocket science.
Did all of this result in you getting banned from FEIC?
No, actually, I wasn't banned from FEIC. Unfortunately, Robbie Davidson was a producer on the film, and well, screw it. I'm not gonna. It's the truth. Sorry, Robbie, but it's the truth. I tried contacting Robbie. Robbie wouldn't answer any of my messages because I had bought he gave us media passes to go film because we were going to interview people there at FEIC. And so he gave media pass under JM Truth Productions. I had contacted him after this, said, listen, I want to wipe out all of the media passes except for me and Travis. And I got no response. So I assumed that he was not going to wipe them out. I hope that they weren't allowed into FEIC under my company name. That would really tick me off after sending him a email and text message saying, I don't want that to happen. But he sent me, the only text message Robbie sent me was, he said, I don't have time for this. I should look at my phone. He says, I don't have time for this. But I want to warn you, if I have any issues from JM Truth Productions or anyone associated with the Plain Truth, I will have the police escort you or my security escort you off the property. Now, what's funny is, allegedly, Shelly talked about me through the whole production. She, David, and Wendell, I'm sure. So they were allowed to apparently do that. I'm the one, unfortunately, which is funny because I sent Robbie a copy of the police report. You would think that as a producer, you'd contact me and say, hey, I'm the senior executive on the production. I own the production company. My first response would have been to myself going, hey, what's going on here? But I heard nothing. And I texted him multiple times, got no response. So at this point, I've removed him as a producer from the production because it's really sad because we were supposed to be friends and he was supposed to be a responsible person, I thought, but it is what it is.
Another couple of questions. Why did you stuff the equipment in your backpack after the meeting instead of putting it in cases?
Okay, I didn't stuff it in my backpack. When I flew to California, my cameras had the lens capsules on and stuff. The cases were too big to carry. So I wrapped them all in clothes and put them in my backpack, and my lenses got wrapped in clothes and stuffed in my backpack. So nothing was in a case to begin with. There were no cases for the cameras. Wendell wrote that in the video because he acted like I was trying to take something that was already mine. Like in the casino, what you guys missed, I don't think it was in the video, as we were walking through the casino, Wendell snaps his finger and calls us over and goes, he's trying to steal her equipment. Well, we've just established the equipment wasn't hers. It was mine. But Shelly apparently lied to Wendell and Dave and said, oh, that's all her equipment because she thought that it was company equipment and she thought – here's the bottom line, Craig. Let's assume for a minute, let's hypothetically assume for a minute that it was company equipment. It wasn't, but let's just assume that. She's still stealing. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's my equipment or the company equipment. You're still stealing. You don't steal company equipment even if you own the company. Like, okay. I told them over and over again, don't leave with my equipment. It's grand theft. Because I know what the laws are. I've owned a production company for over 10 years. I know what the laws are. I said, listen, don't take the equipment. It's not company equipment. It's my equipment. And Wendell stupidly kept saying, oh, it's her equipment. It's not her equipment.
Okay.
It was my equipment.
What about the claim that Shelly tried to blackmail you? Could you expand on that?
Sure. for that last meeting that Wendell recorded, which I figured he was probably recording, but it didn't matter to me because there were already cameras in the casino, so I really didn't care. But he put the camera down at an odd angle. I did notice that, and I thought, well, there's nothing I can do about that. So in the back of my head, I was thinking this could be a setup, as it turned out to be. Unfortunately, what they really did is they incriminated themselves. But what happened was, what's not on that video, because he edited it, was they kept saying to me, you need to give Shelly all of the footage, all of the metadata, and you need to sign off on all of it. Meaning they wanted me to walk away with the production from the production with only my equipment and nothing else. Folks, I've spent thousands of dollars on this project. I've got a studio in the back that I'm building a whole set for this film that I haven't even talked about.
How much would you say you have personally put into the project?
Over $50,000.
Over $50,000.
Over $50,000.
Okay.
Which for documentary actually isn't actually that big a deal.
So
because hard cash, I'd probably say probably 15, 20.
Okay.
I mean, I look at all the equipment as hard cash too, but hard cash, like cash, probably 15 to 20.
You said that the company is an LLC, but apparently somebody has checked and it's not. It's a DDA, did they say?
A DDA?
I
have an EI. I have an EIN. The LLC is actually in process. So
okay.
That's it doesn't at this point. It doesn't matter. The LLC is in process right now. I have an EIN. It's a company. It's a legitimate company with an EIN. That's what people need to know.
Okay, so what class of grand theft did you file this under as?
It's felony grand theft.
Felony grand theft. Okay.
Yeah. As far as the extortion and that stuff, I don't know if that'll stick, but I've got more than enough evidence to make a case for it.
From Team Skeptic says, what ordinances specifically did they incriminate themselves with?
What ordinances? Look, I'm not a cop. It's a good question, team, but I don't have an answer for you. And I'm not going to lie to you. I just don't have an answer for you. Okay.
I'm just going to check, see if there's any more. I think that we've covered everything, to be honest. Yeah, I think that's all the questions from the chat. JM, I do appreciate you coming on and giving your side of the story. So if there's anything else that you'd like to say about it, please just go ahead.
Yeah, let me just share, because I want people to understand. This is not what I wanted. You know, in film production, people have disagreements all the time, and usually you're able to work them out. I believe that this was probably conspired prior to this, and I have my reasons for going that far with it. But what I will say is there's a reason that Shelly didn't sign an NDA or a release form despite being asked multiple times to do so. And so, but what's important is I spent 12 hours trying to work this out. Robert Taylor, who was the mediator between Shelly and I, and also told her, now she's bragged about being an Academy graduate, right? In fact, she's told people, well, I've had 3 or 4 law classes and I know the law. Well, then why would you do something so stupid if that's the case? Because this is ridiculous to take someone's equipment knowing it's grand theft if in really think you're as smart as you think you are. But the problem is that she, despite going 12 hours of trying to negotiate with her and being told by another Academy graduate, hey, this is theft. And we won't even talk about the abandonment part. They were supposed to take me to the airport. We were all supposed to go together. They left me in Wendover, which I don't care about taxi cabs or none of that.
So they abandoned you.
It's not a yeah, they took off and left me in Wendover. That's why, actually, I posted on Facebook what I posted. Robert Scott had to come 2 hours out of his way to come get me.
Okay.
Thank God there are some people that actually care about the humanity part of this. Because I've had people go, well, you could have got a taxi. Well, actually, I'd maxed out my credit card. I had about $100 left and would take $100 and some dollars to get to the airport. So, and I already have Robert Taylor and Robert Scott both offered to come get me. And so that's not the issue. The issue is they left me in Wendover and felt that was okay to do so. I in a million years would have never done that to my worst enemy, ever. Of course, I in a million years would have never stolen somebody else's equipment. So,
Okay. I think that's where we're going to end it then, JM. Like I said, I do appreciate you coming on. Guys, I think that tomorrow, maybe supposedly Shelly will be speaking to Team Skeptic on his channel. So, if you want to hear that side, then go to that tomorrow. So that should be good. But Jen, just one more thing before we go. The Flat Earth community, do you feel like they're behind you, or do you feel like you've been abandoned?
I feel some of them are behind me. I do feel some of them have made preemptive decisions, like Bob Nodell and others. I'm not, Bob and I were pretty close, and Bob ran to Shelly and said he felt like she was being honest and truthful. He's going to find out the hard way, I think, that.
Okay. Well, thank you for, like I said, coming on and giving your side. We're going to end it there, guys. I've got a few super chats first. Willie Merck, $4.99. JM, what is the independent variable in this sentence? No, yeah, funny. Stephen Steen, $1.99. He really needs to get a hold of Kyle's lawyer. Yeah, you should get Kyle Curtis as a lawyer. He'll help you out. Bella Charge, $5 New Zealand dollars. Will you ask Shelly if she's going to go on Team's channel to give us the actual truth? Well, like I said, I hope that actually happens tomorrow. But yeah, guys, that was JM Truth with his side of the Grand Theft Flat Earth saga. Thank you very much for joining. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the Flat Earth. Fight the Flat. Fight the